one idea away.
The Yebo podcast. The Yebo podcast.
The Yebo podcast.
The Yebo podcast.
Peace and love, kings and queens. Welcome to another episode of the Yebo podcast, the podcast for uplifting our voices. And today, let me introduce myself. I'm Josh Simmons, your host.
I'm Jonathan Simmons.
And today we got a very special... That's too many varies. Very special guest for you today. IZAIAH Webb, my friend, longtime friend at this point, 4 or 5 years now. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick? Who are you? Why are you here? What's your area? And what do you have to offer to us today?
My name is IZAIAH. Some call me the dark web, We'll get into that later. But currently going to NIU, getting my master's degree in sport and exercise psychology. I'm actually working in a prison as well, with some incarcerated youth.
There we go.
Yes.
Language.
Incarcerated. Yeah, much better. We actually want to use incarcerated youth because juvenile is just an outdated term. Juvenile. What does that even mean? But yeah, basically, we play sports with them, teach them life skills, and just kind of show them how to be leaders within that setting, which is kind of hard because it's really not an environment where you can really grow that much. So that's where sports really comes into play because they can learn a lot of things from sports, just as I have in my life, and kind of apply those things to outside of their life once they are released from jail.
Pause before we get too in deep. How did you get into this? Like, what led you to? What sparked in your brain that made you like, okay, I want to do this?
So actually, it's been a long time coming. I've always liked helping people. I've always liked learning about the human body, and it just so happened that I put them together, and kind of just the things that I've wanted for myself have just come up as life has just progressed. Like, I realized one day that oh wow, I'm one of those people that help my friends through a lot of different just life struggles. So I'm like, why not do counseling of some sort, which is what really brought me to sports psych, because it's all right, I've been playing sports my whole life. I help people. Let's put it together.
What sports?
Yeah. Huh?
What sports did you play?
Oh yeah, so actually, high school I played football, ran track and wrestled. I've been wrestling for 8 years. I pole vaulted. I only played football up until my junior year of high school because I wanted to focus on wrestling and pole vault because I was a lot better at those sports, and also just individual sports more than team sports. So yeah.
So let's unpack a lot of what you just said really quick. So I think just automatically where my mind usually goes when you speak of the prison system and working within the system itself, I think about the disproportionate amount of black and brown youth who are in jail. So could you sort of speak to, obviously your identity as a black man, I'm assuming, and sort of the opportunity and the need within the system to offer alternatives to just sitting in jail or sitting in, and being incarcerated and not really having, like you said, not having really enough room for growth.
Yeah.
So could you kind of speak to that, the intersection of race, and perhaps provide us with some insight as to what you think the solution could be to sort of alleviating that disproportionate amount of black and brown people in jail? That was a lot.
Yeah,
but
that's a big question. A lot to talk about on that. Let's see. I'll start with just, yes, the disproportion of black and brown people in jail is present in the youth that I work with. I've actually only seen 2 white kids in there. But I guess just providing them with sports, and we actually extended to exercise as well. And we've kind of been experimenting and doing different types of programs. So we have this program called Off the Hook, where it's a boxing program, non-contact boxing. So essentially, you're hitting like the walls and stuff, or like the pads. We'll have them do different combos. But in that in itself just teaches discipline, and really trying to improve their skills in one area of their life to transfer that over to their larger lives. But it kind of works really well with having them do exercise and then also teaching life skills, because the exercise provides like this. There's a whole bunch of benefits that you get with exercise. Like your immune system is improved. Like you think clearer. Your mind starts moving faster. Lots of different things with hormones, endorphins. So just having them engage in exercise already starts to apply benefits to their lives. On top of that, the skills that we talk about every week, we just, really try to stress.
Yeah. What?
I don't know. I just really focused on the silence. I liked it for a second.
That was good. Was that some psychology stuff right there? Was that like?
No.
It was just like
no. My brain just stopped working.
So just being present in the moment. What you're getting at?
Yes.
Just being present in the moment.
And actually, that actually adds to one of the things that we try to teach. Some mindfulness. It's actually a big thing that I'm into.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I see you. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see you. I see you.
What is now? I'm sorry. So you
said no. Let's unpack that. What is now?
What is now? It's.
Why should you always be mindful of your present self?
Why should you be mindful of your present self? I think it's a good way to ground yourself in the experiences that you're experiencing at that moment, right? There's a lot of people that just, and it's honestly, I think, because of just how society is set up nowadays, they just want you constantly moving. And you're not really like stopping and thinking about like, oh, I'm doing this. You just kind of like on autopilot. But once you like stop and like put yourself in that moment, you're like, I'm really alive. Like, like really there's a lot more to life than just doing. And actually, you're a human being, not a human doing. So just be.
What does that mean? Human being, not human doing.
Yeah, we're always trying to do stuff. Like, just chill out. Just be.
Just be.
Just be.
Don't be.
Interesting.
We do a lot of worrying about our future.
Yeah.
Because of social media and stuff like that, and people showing us things and flexing on us and stuff like that. It gives us anxiety about, like, what am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing next week? What am I doing next month? And we lose track of like now. Like, let me go actually clean something up and clean myself up, clean up my room.
Yeah.
Just small things. For like just worrying about the future, the past, like stops you from being focused on what's happening right now.
Definitely.
You just kind of said that, but I just wanted to kind of vocalize myself.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Why are you narrating?
No, it's good to get that stuff out. Say it for yourself.
What was I gonna say?
I'm feeling existential right now.
Do you want to go there or no?
No, not yet. All right,
Okay.
We don't need to bring out the dark web.
Yeah, let's get into that later. Dark web is he.
So I know one experience that really everybody in this room has had is being a black person. I keep bringing up race. That's who I am though. But being a black person at a PWI.
What's a PWI?
A predominantly white
institution.
Institution. Okay.
And the HBCU is an historically black college or university. For anyone who may not know. But I think we all can sort of speak to this, and I don't know, this is like not really a question or anything, but like, actually it's a question. But could you kind of speak to some of the experiences, the negative experiences or the troubling experiences that you all have had so far, or had going to a PWI, some of those, or naming some of those hurdles, and then focusing largely on sort of how you dealt with those hurdles, ways to deal with those hurdles for anyone out there who may be thinking about going to a PWI or like even the HBCU, but like specifically PWIs, and sort of like the mental free labor that sort of comes with that, mental unpaid free labor that comes with going to a PWI. or not even just PWI. Let's open it up to like just being in any white space, mostly white space. How did you guys, or have you guys navigated that so far? And are you aware of that all the time?
Well, I would say that I've been in, for the most part, predominantly white spaces my whole life. So most of a large part of my life has been self-hate, like because a lot of this stuff is like
reinforced.
Yes, yeah. And it's pushed on you, and it's almost like what reality is until you become mindful of who you're around, and just the kind of energy that you're around, and what things you are doing. Like, why are you doing those things? Are you trying to fit in, to look like these people, to be accepted by these people? What is it, And I mean, growing up in DeKalb, there was a lot of that. There wasn't a large amount of black people there.
Like large black people or a large amount? I'm just playing.
That's wild.
I'm just playing.
He's just playing. No, but a large population of black people. There wasn't that. So I kind of say this a lot now. I didn't know how black I was until I got to North Central, because
it's okay.
That was good.
And I was actually like really involved. Like, it was weird because I was involved in the school because I was an RA,
president of BSA,
and a student athlete. Like, I was basically all over campus, all over marketing, just that token black kid,
Yeah.
It was the the exceptional Negro.
Can you define that for our viewers? Can we not know?
Nope, because I don't even know.
Can you exemplify that?
Huh?
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, I can give you an example. So, you got two types of Negroes. You got the people that you would call ghetto and hood and grew up in the blah blah blah, and then you got the people that are playing the game, assimilating to white culture,
but code switching.
Yeah, code switch, like lifelong code switching is. I'm
Lifelong
gonna throw something else out there. Double consciousness theory. W.E.B. Du Bois, like, all that stuff. That, honestly, that's a huge part of like living and attending a PWI is, at least for me, like, anytime I was like, I had to be present for the white people, I'd be like this bubbly person and act like I, love life and every piece of it. But then I would like not retreat, but go to a safe space with, people that actually look like me, the people that could relate to me, like in the experiences that I was going through and the racist incidents that happened at that college. Like, a lot of the white people, like, they showed sympathy, but they can't understand what it's like to have nigger written on your door and then walk around like, who the fuck's at that? Like,
do you feel like there's like a part of you who maybe subconsciously, and I might be projecting, I'm speaking from my experience, but do you feel like there's a part of you that like subconsciously like enjoyed or sought after white people's validation, and like when you were given that validation from white people, like you just felt a lot better than as opposed to like being, you know what I'm saying, like a white person at that school, or specifically a white professor or a faculty member being like, good job, Josh, versus like a black one doing that. You just feel it's just like a little more subconsciously, it shouldn't be that way, but subconsciously, like, you just feel a little more acceptance when it's coming from a white person. That was my experience a lot of times, and it wasn't until like I reflected upon that I was like, that's kind of messed up, and it shouldn't be that way. But it was that way for me. I just felt better about my work or whatever I was doing when it was like affirmation coming from a white person, and I think that speaks to 400 plus years of like just racism.
So like I said, it becomes self-hate at that point.
Yeah.
And
It's the opposite for me.
I would say you definitely were projecting your experience. I did feel that more in high school, at least looking back on it. I felt that more in high school than I did now, or at North Central, just because I was learning to find myself and love myself more for who I was and the skin that I bear. You know.
That's a good way of putting it.
Thank you.
Temporarily.
This is very temporary. This is a blip.
It really
in the
is.
grand scheme of things.
Take care of it while you can.
But the water's been here longer than we ever will be.
Yeah.
But we consume the water.
Yeah, the water you're drinking has already been through 6 or 7 people, so.
It's a fun fact. Keep going.
Yeah.
You got any follow up? I think it's interesting. That'll catch somebody. That'll hit somebody. That little tidbit right there.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sure. Throw
sure.
somebody into an existential crisis with that water comment.
So, like,
You gotta.
that actually stems into spirituality a little bit and just like the personal growth that I've been going through lately.
Unpack that.
Man, that's a lot to unpack. It's like, let me get my suitcase.
Is it a carry on or
No,
is it?
it's essentially. No, I'm kidding. It's a different lens. So it's the dark web now. Realize that my life has been a walking contradiction. I am a walking contradiction. I used to tell people that I was inherently pessimistic, and my mind would just go to the most negative things ever. See like just different situations play out in my head, and it's like, and going back to mindfulness, like what does that do? It only causes fear and anxiety for what's to come, right? When really it's not even going to be affected by your thoughts unless you let it. Don't let it.
Being addicted to your thoughts, that's a thing.
Is it?
It is.
You think so?
That's anxiety.
Addicted to your thoughts?
Give us an example.
This is mental health, right? This is mental health talk.
We can go there. We're
Right, this is mental health talk.
black men in America.
Black mental health is very important.
Extremely.
It is. You gotta take care of yourself before you can take care of others.
Especially like the gas. We can like get to that.
What?
To this, but like the gaslighting of like the black experience in America, especially in grade school, where it's like they make everything seem so far or so long ago, like you said, like the black and white, or like you said to me before this podcast, like the black and white photos of the civil rights movement, when they in fact had colored photos and colored print photos, by then is like to make us like just psychologically be like, oh, this was a long time ago. We're way past this. When I have grandparents who marched and like during the civil rights movement and literally who are alive, who I can touch and like hug,
yes,
and talk to. So we're not that far removed from it, and I think that's another form of like the way that like our experiences are gaslit, because it's like you should be past this by now, or like it's not that, it's way long ago. So like your experience, you should be, I don't know, you should be over it by now, something like that. But
yeah, I mean, and that really just adds to them not really teaching it in schools, as like I didn't really find out about like the truth to all this stuff until I went on the Sankofa trip at North Central. Like
really
actually went down and felt the energy in the space, like that all like the civil rights movement going across the Edmund Pettus Bridge and like the lynching site that was under there. Like it's quite different than what they make it seem.
Yeah.
And I think just the timing of my life and like how that came to be, like all the stuff that I went through before, because I had actually had like racial instances happen in high school. This kid said he would like lynch me and like choke me out on a bus after a wrestling meet.
What'd you do? What did you do?
Well, I'm a very patient person, and I don't like to, let my rage take control of me. So I waited until I couldn't hold it anymore, and then I just punched him one time, and then sat back down.
Just punched him one time?
Just one time.
Did he eat it?
Huh?
He didn't eat it, did he?
No, my hand's still here.
All right.
Did he feel the punch?
Huh?
Did he feel the punch?
Yeah, and it broke his beats. Beat
So back to him beats.
yeah, and I didn't have to pay him.
Mm.
I didn't have to pay him.
He didn't even
Did he
ask for it.
press charges? Did he?
No. What was he gonna do? He choked me and said he was gonna lynch me like.
Oh, he choked you.
Yes.
Oh.
He lynched.
I thought he said he's gonna choke
lynch
you.
you like your ancestors were.
Oh no, yeah, you
do
have
what
way
you
more
had
control
to
than me,
do.
and I have a lot of self control. But
Do
you
what you had to
have
do.
more self control than I do. I would have done something respectfully.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
not disrespectfully.
I obviously didn't just sit there and take it. Like, he got expelled. Like, there was actions taken
Really?
after that. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
But I mean, like I said, all that just plays into like what I've been set up for is to be a leader to black and brown men and incarcerated youth, like going through those experiences and just like, I guess, having that and almost seeing like both sides of it. Because like, I would definitely say that I came up from like a privileged neighborhood. Like DeKalb is definitely more privileged than a lot of places. So just even having access to sports was like, it set me up.
That's a fact.
It set me up, like, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to add to them, because like it taught me all these lessons in life. Like, it can easily be extended to them. It's just about showing them that there's people that look like them that are, actually doing things to there's two different worlds that they're presented with, right? Most incarcerated youth come from underprivileged areas that you grow up, your brother's selling drugs, you sell drugs, it's just
Cycle.
yeah. Some of them have been shot at 12 years of age. Like, that's trauma, and like, if you don't release that and heal from that, you're just gonna become the same thing. And it's just about showing them, like, look, there's a different part of this, and I want to show them how to do that as black men rather than assimilating how I did, like, I am a black man that has gone through a PWI school. Like, I know what it's like to do that, and I'm pushing y'all to go to college, not to say that like I want you to be white or like play. It's weird because I feel like a lot of black people associate college with like white people and like
white acceptance.
Just yeah. No, it's about gaining knowledge, being aware that some of the information that you might be getting is whitewashed, but like just being mindful of that, right? And taking things with a grain of salt. Everything.
IZAIAH, how has leaving your undergraduate experience affected your development into the person you want to be? Like, how has that environment changed you and projected you forward?
Great question. Got me thinking. Snap. I would say, after coming from a PWI and going to a PWI, actually coming from a private PWI to a public PWI, actually was a shift. It's kind of different now because COVID, and I would have probably expected to see a lot more people. But I did go on campus a number of times, and I saw a lot of different black people, like a lot of black people, and I was just like, wow. But so that in itself is not a shock, but it was different. But I would say the experience itself, I picked up a lot of almost resentment towards white people just because like
natural.
Yeah, just being around them, like it felt like no one was really worried about the struggle that people that look like me are going through, and it's just like there just felt like there was no empathy up until someone wrote what's it called on my door. So and then you got the sympathy, but then it was like, all right, now at this point it seems reactionary rather than y'all should have known this stuff was happening. But as time goes on, people distance themselves from it, right? So it's expected. But when you put yourself around black people, right, it's always there. It's always there. But I guess just moving from that area into a place where I can empower people that look like me. That's really what it did. It shifted my focus from trying to fix the problem of racism to how can I help younger kids and just athletes in general like go through these experiences but still come out of it empowered and strong and not assimilating to white culture and still like being themselves and being proud to be who they are, right? So it's really shifted from fixing racism to empowering black people, uplifting black people.
So you don't like regret going to a PWI at all? Then
no,
just more so.
No, I would say it like in terms of education and just like overall exposure and opportunity, it's definitely I can see differences from like the teachings that I had at North Central versus NIU. Like there's a lot of things that other people weren't exposed to that went to different colleges in different states, but like it was almost like I was more prepared for like at least the research part of things than anything.
Interesting.
Based off of your own experience, what advice would you give any black male or just anyone, but specifically a black male, about navigating through college and being a student athlete? What advice would you give them based off of like maybe any hard lessons that you've learned throughout your journey so far?
Good question. Man, I feel like there's a lot of advice I could give. But the best piece I'd have to say is to really just be open. Just open up your mind, but in a sense be cautious of the information that you're receiving. Obviously not like over skeptical of things, but just like look into things a little farther than you would. Don't just take it as it is. But also put yourself out there and put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because you never know what that's going to open up. And that's actually one of the reasons why I ended up doing Project Flex, is I was just kind of looking, where am I going to go to college next to get my master's? And I was just kind of like looking on NIU's website, and then came across like the Project Flex article. They had just started out. And it completely aligned with what I was talking about. So I emailed the professor, was like, yo, I'm interested in this, blah, blah, blah. We talked a while. And then the next year I volunteered for them, and then ended up getting a graduate assistantship. So,
so don't be too cool for school?
Yes, literally. Don't be too cool for school. Like, there's so much that you can gain from, one, just being disciplined and doing your homework so that you pass your classes. I know people say C's and D's get degrees, but if you're not challenging yourself, then what do you? You're spending all that money for what? Like, don't settle for anything less than excellence. Like, y'all got the power and the will to. Feel like an old man.
Yeah, you do it. I also feel like something else. Like a lot of people in general, like going to college or like post high school, and like, either like they're just not necessarily searching for purpose, or like they don't know what the purpose is. And it seems like you found yours sort of naturally, even though like reflecting back, it's like here's 1, 2, 3 of like kind of my list of things that like got me here. But like it seems like your purpose sort of came like just like as you were going and as you were like putting yourself out there.
Yeah, definitely. Just I've never been the one to back down from new like experiences, challenges. I've always led with an open mind to things, and honestly, that's one of the things that's got me as far as it is now. You know, just being open and not really like you can judge things, but don't have your judgment hold so much weight that it holds you back. Right.
Mm-hmm. That was good. I'm taking notes. Yeah, bro.
Okay. Let's go back into like science. That's your thing. Is there any correlation between like science and religion for you?
Correlation. Man.
Connection.
I only got a couple good ones. That's it. That's the last one I got.
Correlation between, is there a relation?
Science and religion. For you, in general, or maybe in your work that you're doing, is there any correlation at all?
Yo, it's hard to answer this question because the place that I'm in, like my journey right now, is kind of ambiguous because it's like I grew up Christian. Mm-hmm. Then early on, I've been a skeptic my whole life. Like, so early on, like I had questioned, like, who's God? Like, what is God? Right? So, and then I'm that person that I need to see things to believe it. So naturally, it was very hard for me to accept that. And for a lot of my life, up until college, was when I started seeing these signs of like, wait a minute, like something. Is that just coincidence? Nah, it can't be. Like, it has to be. So there's always been it's always been in the background. God, it's always been in the background. And you know, like my freshman year, you probably the person I am now, you probably wouldn't even say
no.
It's the same
not.
person.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, let's just leave it there.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I was borderline atheist at that point, freshman year. Atheist, started identifying as agnostic like freshman or sophomore or junior year, and then senior year started opening up to like just religion itself a little more. Not the church. Not the church. I love the church I grew up in. I love the people there, but some churches.
The structure of organized situations.
Yeah, we don't need that indoctrination.
Okay, so what's the significance of science then for you? Like, what's the significance of science in general for you? Why do you think it's so important? Why did you choose like science?
Why why psychology?
Why psychology? Gee, I've always just tried to know the truth about the world. I've always just tried to solve, like, just tried to unpack all the most difficult questions. We can literally go back, like, how many times did we get existential crisis just talking about the most random shit stuff?
It's fine.
A lot.
Yeah. A lot. A lot of...
I wouldn't call it a crisis for me.
Long nights.
So a couple minutes ago, you just said like you like having, like to see stuff. Like that's how you like to do your answers. Like I had to see it.
Yeah.
You picked the most abstract science to go into. Like studying mental health and the mind is probably the most non-tangible science. And there's been a lot of debate about where psych falls in the science world. Like, is it a social science or is it a core science? To me, it's a core science. But how does that play into, like, who you are as a person? Like, going into a science but still giving yourself that challenge of not having a solid answer.
It's kind of frustrating. because I just know there's always gonna be the answer in psychology, and if you're taking Psych 101, you know this. It depends. that's that's literally the answer. You could say that on any psychology test, and you'd probably be right. But
why is this way? Well, it depends on the circumstance.
Yeah,
What's the situation?
yeah. But I guess that's one of my strengths is just being able to see how many different avenues a situation can take, and kind of trying to narrow it down to a select few, like correlates or causes, whatever. Is interesting. It's almost like you always have work to do, and I'm really good at sensing energy, feeling energy, reading people, reading behind people's masks. Like,
literal masks.
No, seriously. Like,
masks and masks.
Masks and masks, both.
Both of them. Yeah, I know what you're thinking right
both
now.
Of them.
I know.
I think we're on the same page.
Yes, we are. But not in the same book.
I'm hungry. Did you know that?
Yeah. He wants tacos.
I kind of been saying it for the last all right. So it seems as though, from what you've told us and from what we've seen, your purpose here on this earth is to help. So with that being said, how do you help yourself in a healthy way? So when you're feeling down, feeling anxious, you're thinking, or you're feeling, a little low, how do you help yourself? What do you do? Maybe this can help them as well. Maybe.
Let's see. Well, I am currently trying to break a lot of the conditions and or bad habits that have just accumulated throughout my life. So eating really late, you wake up with food still in your stomach. So trying to eat before 8. Let me restart this whole question, this answer.
We can cut it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to redo the question, but you can start whenever you...
Okay, what was the question again?
So it's basically just me, like, you would just tell them, like, maybe a list of things that you do to help yourself whenever you're feeling low or feeling like...
Self-care.
Yeah, your self-care. Self-care. And what's your self-care regimen type stuff? For your hair, it can be anything.
Gotcha. So, one of the biggest things that I do is I write in this beat-ass journal that I've had since August 15th of 2018.
Did it come beat or?
No, it's gone through a lot. There's a lot of...
That's just 3 years.
Yeah.
It looks like it's from 85.
Bro. North Central, yeah.
That was like it.
Yeah, had a lot of stuff. So really just writing down all the stuff that goes in my head so I can just get it out and clear it. Because I feel like a lot of people nowadays just like bottle that stuff up. And if you don't get it out, it's going to stay up there. And it's just going to sit on top of all the other things that you start to experience. And that's when you get people that respond in a explosive manner. Because they're literally sitting on a time bomb in their head. Like,
so if you don't get it out, it's gonna get you.
Yeah, and it's gonna affect the people around you. So self-care for me is getting out all the thoughts, kind of going through the things that I want for myself, the behaviors that I want to change to like make myself the best version of myself, or at least growing towards that person. Music is a huge thing. Definitely can release a lot of emotions with music. Skateboard, just doing things that, give me energy, which a lot of the times is just being by myself. I have a cat. Her name's Ray. She's pretty cool. She doesn't like cuddling, but when she does, like, that's nice. Makes me feel better.
What about the freeform thing going on here?
This isn't freeform. I'm about to get these.
Well, the lock thing, locks. Yeah.
Yes, dreadlocks. About to get these redone, retwisted.
Is there a correlation between
When I started
your hair and your journey?
I've actually wanted to grow out dreads for a while. Locks. I wanted to grow out locks for a while.
And what kept you from doing that?
My mom's fear of how I'd be perceived. So she kind of put a clamp on what I could do with my hair, so that I wouldn't get shot. Because, I mean, with dreads, I fit the description for a lot of shootings. And all it takes is little IZAIAH riding down in the car.
We got a Ford with locks.
It is a Ford.
In a black Ford. It's a guy.
Pull him up.
It's a black guy, you know.
It's a Ford.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not act like that's like the most.
I'm just playing.
It's a very, very common car.
I saw the car.
It's a black Ford.
It's a very common car.
No, I've seen the car.
It's a very common car.
I was like, if he said like some other stuff, maybe. But
do you have any final like words? Anything you want to tell the audience? Anything you want to tell Waveworld or Yebo at all? Anything you want to tell them?
You definitely will be seeing me again. This was just like a little intro. To, you know, the dark web.
We didn't even get into that.
Yeah, we didn't. Just know.
Question mark? Part 2?
Part 2?
Part 2?
Dark web to part 2? Yeah. All right.
Put that on the screen.
Let's do it.
you got anything else you want to say?
Nope.
You got any other intrusive questions for us?
No more questions, but good commentary. I
Yes, ma'am.
haven't gotten to see all of you guys in a room in a while, so like I love
been a
seeing
while.
you guys together. It's
Been a
always
little
great
minute.
listening in.
So this trio is like kind of legendary. I'm not gonna lie.
Bro.
Just like
The river.
that sounds narcissistic.
The river walk.
We did have some interesting conversations.
The 4
Couple
years
years
was
ago.
interesting. Me just listening because
Yeah.
I didn't talk the first few years. I knew you guys. I just listened.
We
to
were just
them.
there, existing.
I was just there. Always. Oh, plus since we're here, we have 3 former BSA presidents in one room.
Yeah.
That's
1,
cool.
2,
You should show your face.
3.
Active. Where should I go?
I'm glad we don't count as 3/5 anymore.
That's a bar.
3/5 the vote.
That's a bar. BSA president.
Look, you have some
Together.
This
Oneness.
We in here.
Should we
Ended with some-
put the fit? No, I'm playing.
with some energy.
Oh, we always ask the question. Your top. There's a question before this, I think, but your top 5 music artists right now.
Top 5? I gotta pull up my phone for
No,
this. What?
Off the dome.
off top of the head,
Off the dome?
off the dome.
What's today?
16.
No, today's May 15th, which makes yesterday May 14th, which is when the album The Off Season by Jermaine Cole came out. So definitely gonna have to. He's top. You said 5?
J. Cole.
J. Cole. I like some EDM, some electronic music, so I'm gonna have to say, man, that's really hard.
Skrillex.
He's what I started with, but I wouldn't say he's my favorite now.
Flume.
Odessa.
Avicii.
No.
R.I.P.
XXX Tentacion.
Really?
Yeah, he makes the top. Kendrick.
Not mad at
Kendrick.
There's one more. Only one more artist I can give it. What? All right. Not gonna lie, Wave Down put me on, but
that. Oh yeah.
after the
After the
party,
party.
The party's a vibe.
after the
Can we
party,
play some of that, or is that copyright?
Nah, you can't play that.
Ouch.
That's a vibe for sure. Okay, yeah.
It definitely is.
We've got similar. It's probably around the same. I'm taking X out though. I'm putting Kanye in there. But yeah.
You keeping Kendrick in yours?
Yeah. I got everybody in there except for X. I gotta take.
And the EDM person you said?
Oh, and him.
What did I say?
I don't know. Just
Oh, I said Odessa.
He remembers. He's
I've
just
heard that
playing.
name. It's not.
I actually forgot who it.
Anything else? Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Yebo podcast. As we already said, IZAIAH is going to be back on the podcast or on the channel at some point. But thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
Also, if you have any questions about me, want to collaborate, want to know more about Project Flex, just reach out to Josh or John.
Right there. And then
Yeah.
like point. point
Right there. Link in the description. I don't know.
You are one idea away.
The Yebo Podcast.
The Yebo Podcast.
The Yebo Podcast.